All right. Let me turn down my volume a little. All right. All right. No echo. Okay. Here we go. All right. First off, we're gonna start with component 10. So here's HTML. Display isn't great on here, but it gives a rough idea what it looks like. Basically, I gave margin to everything, padding to the H3 element. The image, I did padding right 50 pixels to push this text away, so it's split up into 3 separate portions. The H2 was the one that I did the most to. Something, I still have an echo. Trying to debate on if I want to try to fix that or not. I'm gonna go and pull it up, that way I can kind of talk about it. Alright, so here we go. This is what it looks like. We'll pull from here. This is the original. Here is the version I did. Trying to do the best way to do this. Alright, so basically you can tell that it's fairly similar to the original. I had to use the after effect to get it to actually pull. I think that's down here. Article after that, otherwise it wouldn't display correctly. You had to use nth of type 1, 1, 2, 3 to get the CSS just right, to where I felt happy. Used first child. Just lots of margin in this one. Let's go to the next one. This one was one of my favorites to do. It was fun. So here it is. Pretty similar, not exact, but there's a little bit of warping in here. But that's just because I couldn't get the exact perfect screenshots of these elements. They're placed in as background images and floated to the with no repeat. You don't need to float the images. So they're just sitting there, and then there's text. These are all clickable. The buttons are not, though, just the words. This is an input, and this one's my version, and there's the one I went off of. I did 103 lines of CSS for this one, which was a little more than most of my other ones. Had to use nth of type a lot to be able to put in the background images. I could have put all these in separately, but I just went ahead and just copy pasted in because it actually ended up being quicker doing it that way. But yeah, the input for up in the search input, that had a decent amount of code, and also I had to put the magnifying glass in there. But that is my number 9. This one was pretty simple. It wasn't very hard. Only thing I wish I would have probably done is know how to do gradients better so I can make the button more realistic. But it's pretty close to the original. I was pretty happy with the outcome of that one. I believe the CSS was not nearly as much. As you can see, the HTML wasn't very much. So we had 63 lines in this one. The button had quite a lot. The input, border radius was key to getting these to look right. Without it, they looked silly, too square. I've come to a realization that buttons need at least a little bit of border radius to look like a button, really. Otherwise, it's just a colored box. Lots of margins and paddings. Seems like that's mainly what goes on with these. I decided to float everything left, and that way they would stick around, stick together. And yeah, give the section a height of 65. That was just for designing. Without it, it would have been a lot harder. Alright, let's go on to the next one. Next one's a blizzard one. This one I thought was going to be a lot scarier than it was. This is my version. I didn't really know how to do that. And my right border I could not get rid of on, oops. My right border I couldn't get rid of. I tried using, trying to get just that border, selecting it, and tried to make it border none, hidden. I tried a lot of different attributes. I tried using the nth of type, latch child, and I couldn't figure out how to get that not to show. So I decided to move on rather than fiddling with it too long. 66 lines of code, I thought by the look at it, but from the look of it, it was going to take a lot more, and as you can see, I even have a lot of white space right here, so it actually was a lot less than I thought it was going to be. Used nth type a couple times, got the colors, two colors, or three colors plus black background, so floated both images. I did have to change the CSS in this one, because initially I had an image up here and then an image at the bottom, thinking that it would read left or right, but then when actually trying to put the images in, I had to move the battle image up next to this one. That way I could float one left, float one right, and they ended up being able to work that way. And to the next one. Next one is my sign-in for Walmart. This is it. It actually isn't a modal. When I first started, I thought I was going to make a modal, but I went back to the website and it's just freestanding in the middle. I just, took a smaller picture. So I went into it thinking I was going to be doing a modal, but I ended up just trying to get the text in alignment as best I could. Came out pretty good. It's real clean. I could easily change this to anything, take out Walmart and change it to anything, and this could be used in later projects. Absolutely. I think it came out good. I was able to get the blue with nth of type. Pull up Dreamweaver, take a look at the code. It again, about 70 lines of code. Font weight. I use font weight a lot more than I thought I was going to. Font weight's pretty awesome. I hadn't used it till this project, so I'm happy that I understand it better and know how to use it now. It's going to be definitely used a lot later on. Lots of padding, weights, fonts, yeah. Pretty self-explanatory, wasn't very technical. Alright, number 5. This one scared me. We decided to take this out because it did not go with the contact us. And in doing so, we used after to get these in, after, and getting these to line up was a pain in the neck, but I got it pretty close. So here it is. I got those to line up, out spacing, lower spacing. Came out pretty good. I like it. Let's take a look at the CSS. A little bit more on the last couple. 83 lines, could obviously a little bit of sloppiness, but after, interesting. I learned that first time using it was yesterday. Padding, font weight again, with 100%. I use that with the heading too. That way I could drag this line all the way across. Rather than putting a width of a certain amount, just went and bumped it 100% and gave a little bit of margin. I actually, in this one, I gave the margin left 10 pixels, something I don't normally do, but I noticed that all this lined up with margin, so I just bumped over the whole page rather than going through each one, which I need to keep an eye out for in later projects, because that was pretty great. Saved me some time. Let's go to the next one. Alright, here's one of my Ubers. Unfortunately, Uber changed their website, so I was unable to use the pictures. So what I ended up doing was just making it a classic gray. That way I could bring it back and use something else anytime. I could put in any picture there and change it all. Basically, it was just a placeholder, almost like a wireframe, was my thought. This shouldn't be all SCSS, yeah, 50-ish lines. A little bit of white space again. Wish I went through and cleaned that up. Um, display block was good. Text transformation, medium border radius, with height, except for the button. Um, yeah, I used M's in my earlier components, and then later on when it started getting harder, I just went back to pixels, because it's a little, I don't know, I guess just because we're more used to pixels, it's just what I decided to do. I just put a random 400 height just to, so it wasn't running through the whole page. Alright, number 3. This one was fun. I enjoyed this one. It only works when it's fully drawn out. Yeah, so following bottom border here, made this have more weight. Gave a used nth of type, I believe 2, because that would be the second one, and gave it a right border. Getting the patterns and margins right to make that look good was a little bit tough. And threw in the rest, and they're all links. Clickable. That's not clickable because it's a border. Yeah, it's pretty similar. I was pretty happy with how that came out. This one. This was the second one I did, I believe. This is a button, not a button, menu button. So over here we got black background, made it the right size, and gave it a blue border radius, I believe of 2, to get it to look similar. I was really discouraged not being able to put in the pictures for these, so I didn't give those as much as I gave some of the other ones, but I don't know. And last is the Spotify. It looks a little warped. It's drug out all the way. It looks closer. I think if I could have redone this one, I would have made the picture smaller, the screenshot smaller, because I didn't learn how to do that till later on in the day, and I never really went back to this one. But if I could have made those smaller and equivalently made these smaller, I think it would have looked more like the original, but I got the basic idea of how they did it. Theirs just looks way cleaner because it's not blown up. And that's it. That was my week 3 project, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we do in the next week.